Hello, welcome. My name is Scott, also known as Renderance, Gus, several other names on the internet. I auditioned for the PTU campaign run by Angel Arts, and I have a little more experience with the system, so I thought I might put together a how to use the Fancy Sheet with Roll20 add-on to make everyone's lives a little bit easier. It was a big group area of contention in my particular group, both ones that I run. So I thought I might put this together just to give everybody a hand, whether I get in or not. Um, I know it kind of confused me at first, and it seems to have confused a large portion of my players. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. As you can see here, I have a version of it open. I have the done sparse version, which is the newest version, and it has this fancy little ability right here, which allows us to export Pokemon trainers right into Roll20. And I will show how that's done a little bit later. Um, I'm going to jump over here to the trainer section. And on my other screen over here, I have the booklet open. I will have the booklet open so that I can go through and start building my character. The character that I thought of was the uh, good old-fashioned detective. You know, he's got that single fatherhood thing going for him. Um, so for the build, what I was thinking is he would have kind of a different background. He would have something along the lines of, I think he would be pretty perceptive. So I would put perception here. And I would put, perhaps maybe he's a little more charming, maybe not. I think his intuition would be a little bit better. So that would be his novice skill. At the start of the game, you get one rank 4 ability, so in my case it'll be his perception. So you'll put 4 here, and as you can see, it has changed to adept. And I will go ahead and rank his intuition up to rank 3. Because I think that makes sense to me. A detective has to perceive their background their and they have to be pretty smart about who they're dealing with. Now, a couple of things that maybe he's not so great at. Maybe he's not that intimidating. So I've got to make sure I mark this here to remind myself what it is that isn't. And remember, these 3 are going to go rank down to the first level. As you can see here, I have taken and went ahead and put it as rank 1. Intimidate. I have Intimidate done. Maybe he doesn't know that much about technology. He is a little bit older. He likes to do things the old-fashioned way, so he's not that great with technology. And the third and final thing I think he might not be that great at is I don't think he's really all that commanding. He's kind of a nice guy. So there's my background. I've built him up. He's really smart. He's got a pretty good intuition, and he's got high perception. So in PTU, you have things called features and edges. The features will be labeled here, and on a sheet we will put here. But I'll jump back to the feature here. A couple of the features. Features are your classes, certain abilities like let me help you with that. Let me help you with that is a nifty little ability that allows you to help another trainer re-roll something that they may have failed. I'm really bad at typing things, so you'll have to bear with me here. All right. So for me, we're going to jump into his. We've already done his skills. The next, the next section we need to do is get up his edges. So let's take a look at some of the edges. The first section of edges, I'll go ahead and slide this over here. I don't know if you guys can read it, but we will try. We'll go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. The first section we have edges. Edges are your skill edges, which allows us to rank up our edges. We have our basic skills here, which allows us to take stuff from untrained, from pathetic to untrained or untrained to novice. Then starting at level 2, we'll be able to take adept skills, which take us from novice to adept. Expert skills at level 6, taking us from adept to expert. And master skills at level 12, taking us from expert to master. Then we have some crafting edges. Maybe your character's a crafter. Maybe he likes to make Pokeballs, or he likes to make scribes because he's got that occults thing. Then we have our Pokemon training edges, which is Beastmaster, maybe. He's really good at controlling unruly Pokemon. Or he's got that, maybe he's a breeder, likes to do things back in the back. Keep his things going, you know? Get those Pokemon building up the perfect of the species. You know, and you have your groomers and your paleontologists. A nifty little ability that one of my players has is Train the Reserves, which allows you to apply experience training to a number of Pokemon equal to twice your command rank instead of equal to your command rank. Whereas normally, in my case, as you can see here, I would only be able to train one Pokemon at a time, even period. Under the Train the Reserves would allow me to take that up and be 2 Pokemon instead. Some of the combat edges are a little bit easier. And like, I don't really have anything for them. Elemental Connection is a fun one. There are certain abilities that require you to have the Elemental Connection, such as if you want to be a telepath, you have to have the Elemental Connection edge attuned to the Psychic. So for me, I think I'm going to up a couple things. I think my first skill that I'm going to take is going to be basic skill. And I think I'm going to up my charm. Maybe I want him to be a little more charming. Wants to be able to get some stuff out of his enemies, or the people he's questioning. Maybe he does have a history of working with the cops, so maybe I should, for me, maybe he should have that basic skills. Athletics as well, because he does need to be able to chase down the perp, as it were. So, with that, what I would do, I was dead come over to here, and make sure that I mark that as 3. I will change it here, allowing us to make sure that we get the correct thing. And as you can see here, highlighted, I have 2 edges remaining, for a total of 4 edges that I can take. I think that I'm going to probably take... Where did it go? I would think, because he's a little bit more charming, I would probably want the Charmer, which lets him use the move Baby Doll Eyes. Yeah, that's right, I said it. As you can see, I really don't think he's that intimidating, so I think maybe he would be... I think he might even take... I think I'll take Athletic Initiative instead of Charmer. Athletic Initiative. And I still need to choose out one more edge. Maybe I want him to... And remember, unfortunately for your first level, you cannot rank up those 3 levels that you had. So, unfortunately for me, I can't take a basic skill to increase my command, my technology, or my intimidate until I have hit my 2nd level. I think he might have instinctive aptitude, because I could spend an AP to raise the accuracy roll. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and Control C these. And I'm going to go to my edges. I'm going to right click, paste special, and paste values only. Then I'm going to, of course, go ahead and delete this last section here because of the way it's written. Then I will mark charm in my notes and athletics as well. Now, as you can see on this page, it lists out the effects and what each individual edge does. Now we're going to do the same thing for the features. I'm going to go ahead and take my first class, which, I don't know, I think he might be pretty good. I think, for him, I think it would make sense to fall under the professional classes. I think he might be a chronicler, because he's always trying to figure out what everybody else is doing. He's not a true law enforcement official. He is, however, he does always figure out what's going on. He is always trying to catch the bad guy, whether that bad guy is just someone who cheated on his wife, or someone in Team Rocket who's been stealing Pokemon and the cops won't help. So I'm going to go ahead and take Chronicler. And I'm only going to take one class on my first level. For Chronicler, I like it's going to be good for me. I'm probably going to take the Profile Archive. As you can see in Chronicler, I get to make a record of the target, and when you take Chronicler, I get 1 archive. So I'm going to take the Profile Archive. So I will get a +2 bonus to Charm, Guile, Command, Intimidate, and Intuition checks targeting Pokemon and trainers in my Profile Archive. So I make a note of them, and then I can tell people all about them with that +2 bonus. And that actually follows under my bonus features, because it's a bonus from the class itself. So for that, I think that might be all I qualify for Chronicler for at the moment. Nope, I'm going to take Targeted Profiling. Oh, I can't. Because of this right here. I, as of yet, do not have Expert Perception. Right now, I believe my Chronicler may be maxed out. It does. It is. I only have the 1 there. But let's go ahead and jump up here into the character creation section and get an idea maybe of what I want to do. there is a section in here that gives us some hints on how to build certain characters. So like we want to be able to build a character not unlike Looker. So we're looking for the law enforcement. Ah, here we go. Maybe we ought to take Rogue or Hunter. I would think that maybe Hunter might make a little more sense. Stealth, perception, combat, survival. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back down here and take a look at Hunter. The hunters work in concert with their Pokemon to bring even the most nimble and impressive opponents to their knees. Maybe not. Let's see what rogues do. Oh, we'll take Rogue. He's a Chronicler and Rogue. That's where we'll start. So we'll take Rogue here. So we're going to go ahead and type in Chronicler. And Rogue. And this is important. This little ability right here where it says class and attack. That means my attack is raised 1 from a feature. So I have to change something about what I did there. So I'm going to go ahead and I have athletics at there. So I'm actually going to change charm. I'm going to go ahead and take it down. And charm is going to instead become stealth so that I can become a rogue. That's going to put me at a 3d6. And instead of instinctive aptitude, I remembered something I wanted to do instead. I'm going to do categoric inclination. Now, categoric inclination is a nifty little ability. That will allow me to add a bonus, a +1 to all categories of that category. Body is your athletics, your acrobatics. If we go back to our page, body are all the ones in red, well, pink. Mind are all the ones in yellow. And spirit are all the ones in green. So, because of the kind of individual that I think he is, I think that I'm going to add categoric inclination, and I'm going to do spirit. I don't think he's as acrobatic or athletic as others. He's really kind of let his combat go ever since his training days are now long over. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, make sure I add that +1 modifier to that category. I'll go back into my book here. So I'm going to go ahead and use and take Cutthroat. Because I don't get that for free. And we can always double check that if you're ever in doubt. But I do get the moves Feint Attack and Thief, where I will show you where to put those here in a moment. And then, because, again, I took that plus attack, I need to again, boost that here. And as you can see, right here, it's changing. Anytime I change. At our first level, we have 10 points to initiate, which I will do here in a minute, after I have chosen my final feature. And I think the last feature that I'm going to take is probably going to be... Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our general features. I think as for the early game, where we're probably going to start, I don't necessarily need to have that all the way in there. I don't need to think too far ahead about what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back into Chapter 3 of the book here. I'm going to go into Features. And I have some general features here that you only need to make sure that you meet the requirements on. Anybody can take them. No other requirements other than you need to have the appropriate abilities. We will talk about training here in just a minute. So for what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take... Where did it go? I think I am going to take Skill Monkey. Skill Monkey's a neat little ability that can, at times, get on the GM's nerves, speaking from experience. But 3 times a day, I will be allowed to re-roll a failed check. And I get to add a +2 to it. So that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead for my final feature and take Skill Monkey. Then again, I'm going to go into my features. I have Chronicler, Rogue, and I'm going to go back in here. Now you might be asking yourself, why are we doing all this work on here? Why can't I just do it on the sheet provided in the book? You can, of course, but then as we will more than likely be playing on Roll20, or the group will, it's very important to streamline it as much as possible. Pokemon Tabletop United is a very labor-intensive game. It's very heavy math. I found that out the hard way. I was unfortunately unprepared as a GM, and I don't want to see anybody else going into the same situation I threw myself into. So as you can see, I do not actually qualify for Skill Monkey. Never mind. I do not have 3 skills at Adept rank. But I will go ahead and take Let Me Help You with that, because he is kind of a helpful guy. Alright. So now we've got our edges, and we have our features. Now, because we are going to be, we get to choose, at our first section here, we get to choose a type of training that we want. We get to do that entirely for free, as annotated on... I'm not entirely positive where that's annotated at. I can definitely annotate it. Now I'll go ahead and put that in the link below. It is in the book, I promise. But if we go back down into our features here, go into our general features, and then we go into our Pokemon trainers. Oh, right. I guess it's So the following 4 features are special types of orders that can be used to train Pokemon or outside battle. They have special rules noted in their features tags that will be repeated here. You may choose to use them either as training features or orders features. It never has both tags at once when used. So you can use it as your training, or you can either use it beforehand, before a combat, to do some training to have that boost, or if you hadn't done it that day, you can go ahead and pop it as an order. I'm telling you to do this. And you don't need to meet the features for the first one. That's what this training feature means here. I would think that he might want his Pokemon. I think he would try to inspire them a little bit more, which will allow them to have a +1 bonus to evasion and a +2 to save checks. So I will take inspired training. And that is a feature. So again, we're going to go back into our features tab and we're going to go into inspired training. Detective for hire. And of course his name is Ronan. And he is being played by Scott. His age is 30. He's a male. And he's 5. And he's 6 foot. And we're not going to talk about his weight. So the next step is to go ahead and distribute our stats. Pokemon, we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. I definitely want to make sure that he has a sufficient amount of health. So I'm going to go ahead and apply 3 points into health. Then, I think he might be a little bit more of a special attacker. So maybe I'll put 3 there. And, actually, no, he's going to be more of an attacker because I get the attacks from the... So we're going to put 3 in regular attack. And then we're going to go ahead and put 1 in each of the rest. Actually, we're going to put 2 into speed. Initiative works in such a way that it is based entirely off of your speed. Now, just to demonstrate, before we move on to the next page, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to level up your character inside this sheet. Experience comes from 3 places. The miscellaneous experience that he may decide to dish out, or what are called milestones, particularly good achievements that have come out. You won your first gym badge, you defeated your first Team Rocket group, you've raided a base. Anything the GM decides is significance and warrants a full level up. Otherwise, you'll get miscellaneous experience. Miscellaneous experience is equal to 10. Once you hit 10, you become a regular. You get a level. So as you can see, if I look back up here, I am now level 2, and I have 1 more point to distribute, as well as 1 edge. Now, if I go ahead and take away that 10, again, I'm back here. And then, just to show you, let's go ahead and jump into the Pokédex. And I'm going to Control F and look for my Axew. And I'm going to go ahead and mark him as yes. I have him. I've caught an Axew. Go into my trainer. And as you can see, I get 1 from my Dex experience. So, and milestones are full. So, for the sake, I'm going to go ahead and put 10. That should put me at level 11. And as you can see, it does. And of course, we're not quite at level 11 yet, so we're going to go ahead and take it back and put it back as to level 1. We want to be very careful. If we pay attention, if you look here, I have highlighted an area that tells me in changes that has a function. I want to be very careful not to erase any of the functions. It will break the operation, and you may end up having to make your character sheet again. One of my players had that pain come about just very recently. That was actually the inspiration for me actually creating this particular video. So, now what I've got, I need to go into my combat. I like to put my combat before my Pokemon, before all my Pokemon. As you can see, it's got some interesting little abilities. But the only part that I truly worry about are whether or not I've got any abilities for my features. So I'm going to go to my features. Did I get any abilities? No, but I did learn the moves Feint Attack and Thief. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my combat. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to type in Feint Attack. All of this information here will be changed. And then I'm going to go ahead and type Thief. That gives me the ability, that allows me to use those two moves. As you can see, Thief is an at-will move, whereas Feint Attack is in every other turn. I believe those are the only two moves I got, but let's check again. You may use rogue moves as weapon moves when wielding small weapons or melee. Which is good, because as he is a detective, I can't see him being without a gun. He's going into dangerous areas, so I think he's going to have a gun. But of course, I'm going to have to buy that, and that's going to cost me $2,000. And you're going to put your weapons here. And it's a small weapon. You're going to put those, of course, in. Now, if we look at our inventory, this is where we're going to buy all of our stuff. All of our medical kits, our Pokemon items, our key items, like our Pokédex. Cost us $12,000. Of course, I don't have that much money. And that is something that I would suggest doing with your GM. That is going to be, because he's going to tell you how much you can actually have to start out with. The next thing we're going to go ahead and look at is our extras page. There are certain classes, such as Cheerleader, Duelist, Taskmaster, Type Base. So if I look at Chronicler here, I get to look at my archives. I get to change that. And I, of course, only have Profile Archive. Alright, so I think we're ready to move on to the next section. Our starter Pokemon. So for me, I wanted to go ahead and choose Axew. This is the page that often causes the most trouble. As you can see, many things are very similarly colored. So I want an Axew. Of course I want Haxorus, but let's be a little more reasonable, shall we? Now I like to have my players roll for their starter to see what their natures and features are going to be. But we're just going to go ahead and make him up, and if I need to change him, I will. So I'm, of course, I think my Axew is actually a girl. Our natures. That is an important point. We're going to go ahead and jump into the natures chart. And I have a nifty little useful chart here that tells me all about my natures. Just a little further down here after my combat maneuvers. Let's go ahead and jump them up. So a few things to note. your natures, as is in the games, change what your HP and your attack are. And one thing that is important to note, your Pokemon must have the damage base relation. And what the damage base relation means is no stat that can be higher than the one above it. So I cannot have a special attack higher than my special defense. So I have to make sure that I'm careful about that. The only place that that does not apply is my HP. So I can go ahead and put 4 into HP. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 2 into attack because I want it to be kind of a heavy hitter. I'm going to go ahead and put 1 into defense, 1 into speed, 1 into special defense, 1 into special attacks, and then I'm going to go ahead and maybe just actually go ahead and finish that off with 5 because I want him to be a little bit more of a have a little more oomph to him when so they can take a hit. This is where I'm going to go ahead and put all of my moves. So we're going to go ahead and actually open up the Pokédex so we can take a look and see what kind of moves he's got. So level 1 Axew only knows Scratch, and that's where we're going to go ahead and start. We'll do a level up as an example so that I can make sure that everyone understands. Wow, I just did that on camera. So we're going to go ahead and put Scratch. As you can see, it's a melee pass-through move. Well, let's see what kind of abilities he's got. He's going to have Rivalry or Mold Breaker. So I think he's going to have Mold Breaker. Or she is going to have Mold Breaker. And I promise, I'm not attempting to make this as boring as it is so far. But I do feel it is interesting information to have. I'm going to go ahead and name her Maria, after Ronan's late mother. Now, to level up, let's go ahead and take a look at the Pokemon level chart, which is just a couple pages up here. This is a useful chart to have in the game. I actually have it set up so that I can throw it out to my players whenever they have a question about it. As you can see, for the first few levels here, it basically every 10. Once you hit level 10, it jumps exponentially and continues going. So, let's just say that I'm going to go ahead and make it level 13. One thing I've got to do is I've got to go ahead and put 160 XP here. Then, as you can see, my level changed. I now have 12 points to apply, several things to track. Now, let's go ahead and put 20. We're going to go ahead and make it a level 3. So as you can see, I have 2 points to apply. I think I want to go ahead and raise that special attack, so I'm going to go ahead and raise that up 1 more. As you can see, I have not broke the damage base yet, but I do go ahead and need to make that so that it matches the damage base here. And of course you can get modifiers, like if I take Quick Claw. So now I have an automatic plus 10 to my initiative. That doesn't mean I get 10 to my speed, but that does mean that I go higher in the turn order. And I'm sure that most of you can figure this out because I'm sure a fair amount of you have played the game. So now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and hop on over to Roll20. I'm going to go ahead and create a new game. And I'm going to call it PTU Test. Then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I choose the Pokemon system. And I got to make sure that I choose Pokemon Tabletop United. Its sister would get me into some trouble here. As you can see, I'm a GM. So this isn't going to necessarily apply. But I've got to go ahead and make sure I have a character. I'm going to go ahead and name it Ronan. I don't really have any pictures to anyone who knows. Basically anyone knows how to use Roll20 at this point. And I know that Angel Arts does. So here's the interesting thing. I'm going to go ahead and name this Ronan so that I remember. Here's where it gets interesting and makes everything a little bit easier for all of us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit where it says Trainer Export. I'm going to go ahead and hit C. Control C. I'm going to go into my PTU test, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this import page in my character sheet. I'm going to go ahead and click Control V. That will allow me, as you can see, Ronan's information has now been input in the game. I've got some let me help you with that. See, all my features are here. Inventory, other, I've got roll page here. I'm going to go ahead and back out. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I set up my game. We'll go ahead and use the Recon Region Blue Edition as a example here. Just for some things that this is some I do of course have a couple, and I'm going to go ahead and borrow Gavin's token for just a few moments. I have it set up so that most of my players can do everything they need to do from the right here in the chat box. I have it set up so that they can do that. So if I drop Summer out here, I can go ahead and use Wounding Strike on Summer, which I believe is a physical, and I'm going to go ahead and have a target. And this will tell us whether or not it hits. Of course, you do need to do the math to make sure that if any bonus evasion that you have is applied. So if we go into Gavin's character sheet here, you can see, we can go ahead and use the traditional page. Zoom this up here. As you can see, basically everything here is filled out for us. So I need to change my combat stage, and I've been hit, taken down 4. As you can see, everything adjusts accordingly. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that automated import and have it right there in your game, ready to go as soon as you are. And that will work just as long as you go ahead and make sure that you have that ready to go. So if I change the character sheet name, this is the part that I cannot stress enough. If you change a character sheet name for your Pokemon, you must make sure that you type it in correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and call it Maria. Then when I go into my Roll20 export, I need to make sure that I type in Maria. Then I'm going to go ahead and where it says Pokemon Export, right underneath, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to Control C. Then I'm going to believe I have an X. I believed I have an XU here, but I do not. So I will go ahead and quickly make one here. Maria. Save changes into my import page. Control V. As you can see, I have Maria. She is level 3. She is an Axew. She is a dragon type. Her hit points are 43. Her current hit points are 43. She has 20 of 30 experience. As you can see, all my information imported correctly. On occasion, things get broken, but we can always go ahead and throw out we can talk to the people who made the sheet, and I will link the sheet in the description down below. Go ahead and save it to your own Google Drive, and you'll be able to do everything that I've just done as well. Now, let's go ahead and close this out. I'm going to go ahead and hide the Pokebot template because I doubt I'm going to be building any robots. So, I think that's going to be it for right now. If you have any further questions, go ahead and PM me. I am happy to help out anytime I can. This has been Scott with Renderance Plays. Thanks and have a wonderful day.